Welcome to Prodigy Sport Stations. P.S.A. podcast is an unconventional podcast that challenges the audience to think outside the box using real-life experiences, clever narratives, original quotes, and the creative use of satire in order to break the audience free from negative paradigms and push them towards their own personal growth. This is by no means a method to condemn or bash the audience, but instead encourage and showcase a different perspective that might not have been seen before. P.S.A. is designed to showcase to the listeners that the power of the mind is not a joke, and if a person can learn to control their mind and their thoughts, they will ultimately control their life. This podcast serves as a means of entertainment and educational purposes only, and not a replacement for therapy or any other type of professional help that the audience may desire. All right, y'all. We are back at it again for the last and final part of the low-key mental health series. Again, talking about different things that are therapeutic for the people. The first week we talked about how sneaker shopping is therapeutic. Second week we talked about how your gifts and talents and pursuing that is therapeutic. And this week we got another thing, a topic we're talking about that's also therapeutic as well. So for the topic today, or the title today, the title is Why Keeping Everything Bottled Up Will Result in Your Downfall. All right. The meme reads, you either express yourself verbally or your actions do it for you. Inspiration comes from my guest. We was having a conversation about something, and I feel like he had to be the perfect person to talk about this. Journaling. I think that's a great way to express yourself, but I can give the negative side of that too. And I'll give my unpopular opinion about that. And then that kind of goes to this short film that I watched, which was the reason for that. And, just from personal experiences, just going crazy, bottling stuff up. And it's just not a good feeling. It's a terrible feeling, actually. So, but before I go any further, I got a guest today. So please, sir, state your name, where you from, where you live now.
My name is Aaren Synder. I'm from Detroit, Michigan. I'm living in Toledo, Ohio right now, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist.
All right. So now you're my second licensed family and marriage therapist. So that's gonna be fun. All right. So you're marriage and family therapist. All right. So when you think about journaling, and I'm gonna ask you a few words, and then actually what comes to mind. So when you think about journaling, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
I think it's therapeutic and I think it's informational.
Okay. When you think about therapy, what comes to mind?
Healing,
When you think about venting, what comes to mind?
healing,
Healing again. And when you think about bottling up, what comes to mind?
instruction.
Destruction. Okay. So I went ahead and defined these. So with Webster, so it says journal, it says writing a journal or diary. Obviously, we knew that. Therapy, it says treatment intended to relieve or heal a disorder.
Mhm.
Then we got venting. It says the expression or release of a strong emotion or energy. And then we got bottle up, which is says to hold something inside, especially an emotion, and keep it from being expressed or released openly. All right. So now, personally, when I think of bottling up, I always think of like a can. I don't know why Dr. Pepper, because I don't even drink Dr. Pepper, but I think of a can of Dr. Pepper and like, they shake it up and then it just sits and then you open it and explode. And that's kind of how we are when we bottle things up. So I think about that. Now, can you tell the people about your mental health journey? How did you get to where you at now?
Well, I mean, it started, I went to HBCU, Central State University, and I was doing psychology as my major. And when I was doing it, I didn't really know nothing about mental health. I ain't gonna lie to you, I ain't learned nothing really about mental health and none of that. But when I graduated, there wasn't too many jobs in the psychology field, and that's what I had my bachelor's in. So everybody was telling me like, hey, if you want to get to the money, you're gonna have to go back to school and get your master's or whatever. So I'm like, all right, cool. I go back to school, and joined this program to get my master's degree. And when I did it, I started to realize like a lot of people were having underlying issues that were related to mental health, especially like Black people, but they didn't really realize it was mental health issues.
Yeah.
So before I just started to be real entrenched in this field, and before you know it, I started to write a book, but I didn't really want it to be a book per se. I was just writing about my experiences, writing about things that people was doing or whatever. And before you
Right.
know it became into a book, and it was originally just supposed to be about mental health. But then I realized like Black people have a specific problem when it comes to mental health. They have specific characteristics when it comes to mental health. And our community don't really know much about mental health. So eventually it came into Black mental health. And then I started blogging as well.
Okay. So what are your current projects that are out now?
Well, right now it's the book Black Mental Health Matters, the ultimate guide for mental health awareness in the Black community. That's on Amazon, that's on Target, that's on Barnes and Noble. Anywhere you find books that is it's a paperback copy and it's also an ebook format. And then I'm also writing for my own page. It's called thementalhealthmatters.com. And I'm working on another book right now. I can't really speak too much about that,
There you go.
but we are having another mental health book coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, I love that when you said I ain't gonna speak too much on it right now. Too many people release stuff. If God didn't tell you to release it, don't release it just yet because you just never know. So I'm a big advocate of that. I'm so secretive, like I'll drop something, I'll drop a book out of nowhere and nobody even know I was working on a book. Wouldn't even
That's
have a
right.
clue. So I definitely applaud that because that's all I'm about. So where do you see your projects and just yourself in 5 years?
Um, I mean that's a good question, but I'll say probably New York Times bestseller. Helping people all around the world. Might be speaking in London or speaking in a neighborhood near you. Like I really like to talk to the hood. I like to talk to the streets because I feel like them the people that really need it the most. So that's probably what I see myself doing, being the public speaker, speaking at these different venues across the globe and across the United States, in the hoods and whatnot.
Okay. All right, so I got from went to an article. Got found an article called "To Vent or Not to Vent." It says what happens when you bottle up your emotions, and it's by Audrey Ulick, and she's a licensed psychologist. So she says that bottling up your emotions means blocking or suppressing your feelings instead of expressing yourself. It says you may do this for a variety of reasons, such as having fear of showing signs of weakness, avoid talking about a situation because you don't want to feel negative emotions, or misguidedly believe that you must remain positive and upbeat all the time. But avoiding your emotions does not eliminate them, rather makes it more difficult for you to manage other challenging situations that may occur in the future. I can personal thing, like with me, sometimes I don't say stuff because the thing with me is I'm too vocal at times. I think sometimes though I don't say certain things because it's like you don't want to, it's the truth. And especially as a Black man, you don't want to look weak. For
Right.
the most part, I'm gonna say it, but a lot of times people don't. I think with me, I'm gonna say it, but the delivery ain't always the best. But the
Mm-hmm.
message is all right. So, as a licensed professional, what do you think would be like a good tip for somebody who may struggle with like expressing themselves?
Yeah, I mean, I think when it comes to expression, so because everything you said is facts, I think a lot of Black people, especially men in particular, had that same they had that same thought about it. But what I would say is a tip for somebody who's struggling with bottling things in, you have to weigh the pros and cons of not doing it versus doing it. The pros of uh, holding something in is maybe you won't look weak in the moment, and maybe another pro is that you won't have those awkward moments, whatever. But look at the cons. The
Right.
cons very seldom will outweigh the pros. The con is going to be that you're going to have to struggle with this inner conflict. And that's going to be devastating, like I said earlier with the word, that's going to be devastating. And then also another con is that other areas of your life is going to suffer. So those cons are going to be so damaging that the pros don't even matter no more. So I say once you weigh the pros and cons, go with your best mind, go with whatever you tallied up or whatever. More often than not, the cons are going to be much heavier than the pros. So I think you should go with the pros.
Okay, definitely, I agree with that. Because a lot of times, that's a good practice for people to say if you bottling up something, you feel like should I say something, should I not? Kind of like write a list maybe, and just like okay, these are the pros if I say something, these are not, And a lot of times the pros are going to outweigh the cons. A lot of times, not always. Because
Yeah.
sometimes I've learned you want to speak on something, it's best that you looking back at certain things I'm glad I never spoke on. So just because of the way they went down. All right. So now when we talk about when it says for challenging situations that may occur in the future. For some reason, when I think of future, I always think of like race and us as a people and just in general, really just all the races, but especially us. So I think of your bio. Your bio says social justice warrior. So what does it mean to be a social justice warrior in a time like this? And then you are a licensed professional at that.
Yeah, that's a very thin line to walk, being a social justice warrior and being a therapist because you still are a professional. However, what social justice warrior means to me in this time in particular, it means that somebody that's willing to tell the truth. You know what I'm saying? Somebody that's willing to really speak on what's going on because a lot of times people don't have the integrity, they don't have the compassion, they don't have the understanding, and they don't have the knowledge to speak on certain things that's going on. And we need somebody to be a warrior in that battle of telling the truth and to speak on what needs to be spoke on because a lot of people just don't know and other people just don't care. And we need somebody to step up and fight this fight.
Okay. And why do you think it's so important for black men to vent in a time like this?
I think it's always important, not just right now, but in general, because it's like some of the things that people hold in be the same reasons why they go out and do crazy stuff, especially us black men. You know what I'm saying? You got people out here wanting to be shooters. You got people out here wanting to be robbers. You got people wanting to sell drugs. You got people wanting to act like they're the big money man. It's because they hold a lot of stuff in. And if they get out here and really talk about what they hold in, they won't have these issues, these deep inner issues that's causing them to do these things. So I think the more you let go of your trauma or your baggage, the more functional you will be in life.
Okay. Okay. Um so I went to another article, and it was like, why is therapy so important? Was writing therapeutic for you?
Absolutely. I think it was therapeutic for me in a sense of it helped me get my voice out there, because I'm good at speaking. I do public speaking or whatever, but I think that writing is much more my lane. You know what I mean? Because when I write something, I got time to actually perfectly craft out what I'm trying to say. Whereas when you talking, you just got that one shot. If you write something wrong, you can erase it and
Right.
reword it. But when you write, you really can hit the mark on exactly what you were trying to say. So for me, that really helped me get my voice out here, and it helped me say some of the things that I really wanted to say, some of the stuff I wanted to get off my chest. That was my way of unleashing and not holding stuff in.
Okay. All right, so this again comes from the same article. We just broke it up. So it's some of the same articles earlier. It says the mind and body are intrinsically linked. It says and mental and emotional health are important as well as overall health. Research shows that there is a powerful mind-body connection through emotional, mental, social, and behavioral factors such as that directly impact our health. Negative emotions such as anger and anxiety have been linked to distribute disruptions in normal balance of the stress hormone and lower immune system, and depression has also been shown to increase the risk of chronic illness, heart disease, stroke, cancer, and diabetes. That's probably why a lot of our people, we do suffer like we do, because we holding everything in. And I know family members that will brag like, oh, I can hold a grudge and I'm gonna stay mad. And I think my great grandmother, I didn't know her, but I know she died mad at somebody and bragged about it. And that's just how people do. And I think that it's a struggle. It is. I can know from experience with letting stuff go, because I think society pushes, and it's not even just for us as a people, it's really for everybody. I see it on Twitter all the time. Society pushes that's okay. Like that's a power. It's
Yeah.
really a weakness, but they push it like it's a strength, like, oh, staying mad. See how long you can stay mad. And I was watching this girl, she from Chicago. I think her name 50 Shades of K or something. She is like a comedian. And she was telling a story about how she had ran into, like, this lady had backed into her car. and she said she was at Starbucks. She said the lady was apologizing and complimenting her and stuff. Now, no scratches or nothing was on the car, but she said she found herself still mad about it 20 minutes later. And she said she had to catch herself and get to say she wouldn't need to get to the point where anger is foreign to her. So foreign that this not a natural reaction, because she said it's really not naturally for her. And she said it was an ego thing because she was holding on, trying to prove, like, stay mad, because your ego will keep making you say, no, you still need to be mad because of this. And I think tying it all back into us, I feel like we have big egos, and it's like we feel like you did something to me, I'm gonna stay mad at you forever because my ego won't let me let it go, even though I probably want to let it go,
Yeah.
but you know. So what is your take on ego? What's your think on that?
Yeah, just kind of piggybacking off what you said, that's exactly a lot of people ego is what make them upset. It's like we don't want to forgive people, we don't want to let stuff go because our ego won't let us, because we feel like we letting them off the hook, we feel like we letting them play us. So we hold on to something that we don't even really want to hold on to, not because it upset us, but because our pride won't let us let it go. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like one of the biggest things that we as a people, and when I say we as a people, I'm talking about everybody, we need to really let go of holding on to anger, holding on to trauma. We need to do whatever we can to let that go, because it's really just weighing us down. It's not lifting us up in no way, shape, or form. So if it ain't lifting you up, why are you doing it? You know what I'm saying? Like, our culture cannot be this toxic that we holding ourselves down intentionally. We got to start to build ourselves up and build other people.
Right. And like I said, it's different if you struggle with letting it go, but just blatantly like, no,
Yeah.
I'm not letting it go. That's when it becomes an issue. So I got some tips, and we're gonna talk about them. You let me know what you think. And these tips come from another source. It says next time you feel yourself bottling up emotions, try some of these tips. It says cultivate awareness, pay attention, and identify the emotions as they arise. And notice the people or situation in your life who make you feel stressed, frustrated, sad, or angry. Try to address the circumstances that trigger the emotions. So I
Mm-hmm.
like that one. Be at least aware. That's my main thing. To even aware, if you
Yeah.
say, yeah, I do this, so what? At least you're aware. If you don't want to change it, you don't want to change it. But at least you could say, I'm aware versus being in denial about it. Because the first way to get over something is to admit it. And people don't even want to do that. It says slow down, give yourself time to think, and calm down before you react to a personal situation. I feel like I've kind of mastered this. When I see somebody I don't care for, or especially at work, because at work it happens a lot. But
Yeah.
I go the other way. I don't even and I don't try to do it in like a petty way, but I just try to get out. I try to shake the scene. I try to flee the scene. I don't even want to. I don't. I have very strong body language. I don't want to. I don't want no smoke. It says manage stress. It says practice relaxation methods, including deep breathing exercise and progressive muscle relaxation. Now, I don't know about that one. Do you know anything about that? Because I've never, I think I've heard of it, but
I don't know a lot about it, but I do know what they're referring to. It's just like certain techniques that you can use that'll relax your muscles, like breathing techniques or like massaging certain areas of your body and whatnot like that.
okay. And then it says express yourself in appropriate ways. It says find comfort and relief by communicating with family and friends who will be supportive, validating, and empathetic. Let them know when something is upsetting you and talk it out loud. And then from Six Great Ways to Vent Your Frustrations by Danielle Marie Crum, it says she has six, but I only put four here, and that's gonna kind of lead into the next thing. So the first one is cry. I think that sometimes you may not need to cry in front of everybody, but it's nothing wrong with crying. Because I'm sorry, there's a difference between crying as venting and then a cry baby. Because some
Yeah.
people cry over I'm like, look,
Mm-hmm.
you can't cry over everything
Yeah.
all the time, and that ain't even just like a boy thing. That's a girl thing too. Not like, look, like, you just can't. It says punch. Now, don't punch nobody. I'm not telling you go hit nobody. I'm saying, as far as it was saying, punch a wall or something like that. And that one I'm only because I've seen people fracture their hands doing that.
Yeah, you can't be hitting the wall. You gotta find something, that's appropriate to hit, like a pillow or a punching bag or something like that. But that can release certain tensions.
Yeah, and I mean, take up boxing. They go get you some boxing gloves. What I did off Amazon, and go to the boxing. You know, and go to the 24-hour fitness and go hit the thing, because you go and try to punch somebody, you gonna go home and say PSA said I can go punch somebody, and they come home and hit their man and hit the like look.
Right. You can't be doing. You gotta find somewhere else to release that frustration for sure.
Right. So then the third one says create art, which is something I do. A lot of the podcast episodes are based off of things I see or things that happen to me, or just they are random. And just a lot of the creative things that I do, it come from something. So that's the way to express yourself. And then the last one is journaling. So we moving into the next section about journaling. So do you still journal? Like, is that something you do on a regular, or
Um, I don't necessarily be journaling, but I do blog and I do mentally document things. And when I mean by mentally document things, it's like something might happen and I may not have nobody in particular to vent to. So what I do is I find, and this might sound a little crazy, but I find a little place to go myself and I just rehash the situation like to myself. I like talking to myself, answering questions, but I be like, man, why so and so do that? You know, like he must got me messed up or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like you just kind of let it out. Because if you just hold it in, it's gonna be toxic. You know what I mean? So you gotta find some time to let it out. And your way of letting it out might be completely different than somebody. So for me, I do journal at times. I just don't do it in a typical way.
yeah? Okay. Now it's coming from where it go? It's coming from three reasons why journaling with others is an act of self-care. And this is something I saw on Instagram from this lady named Janelle M. Rivera. I thought that was interesting talking about journaling with people. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm gonna go off of what she said and then shout out to her. And then we're gonna kind of talk about that. It says it strengthens relationships. It says it carves unconditional love. It says because while y'all doing it together, y'all kind of learn to accept each other. And then it says it drops the facade and faking the funk, and it blocks us from exploring our faking the funk blocks us from exploring our full potential. We begin to feel trapped inside and stick to repeating the same habits. So I thought it was interesting to say journal with someone. I mean, I
Yeah.
feel like that may, and now as a family marriage therapist, do you think that may be a good, healthy um for people that's in relationships and are married?
I do think that's healthy. Like it really depends on the person though, because somebody might need what they need is to journal by themselves. But if you feel like it's appropriate or it's going to be more helpful to journal with somebody, I could definitely see how that could be helpful because y'all ain't pretending no more. You letting it out to somebody else and they getting to let their stuff out and y'all not arguing, y'all journal. So yeah, I think that's good.
Yeah, because you writing your point of view, they writing their point of view, and
Mhm.
then because there's certain things you just not gonna agree on, and then you could be journaling together, and then y'all end up arguing again. It's just like we could just agree to disagree and move on, but then y'all start another argument. So it's just kind of, and that's kind of one of the negative sides with venting, which kind of goes into the next part where I say you can't vent to everybody,
No, you definitely can.
and you gotta watch who you talking to, especially what y'all talking about, because I mean, I've been, I think we all been there. You didn't said something, somebody venting, and then they get to go get repeated, and then you sitting there looking
Yeah, like what? Come on, man.
like why? As far as now, I'm very conscious of what I say and who I say it around, because my mindset is if I say it, I'm gonna just expect it to get repeated. So
Mm-hmm.
I tend to know who I can, at this point, if you don't know who you can and can't say stuff to, test them out with little stuff. That's my tip. And then see what they do with that, and then because everything gets back to you anyway. Have you had a situation where you repeated something you didn't want it to get repeated and it did anyway?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, stuff I ain't gonna talk about, but yeah. You know, like you would say something to somebody or whatever, and it'll get back. You be like, hey, how you know that? Oh yeah, I know how he know that. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that, yeah, all the time.
The thing is, you tell it to one person, so then that way, if it gets out, you know who you said it to. That way, you ain't got to try to play. Because sometimes in my, huh?
You don't even gotta narrow it down no more.
Right, because I said in the past with me, I've told it to a few people, and then it's like I'm trying to play guess who, and they all lying. Well, you know, they not all lying, but they all saying they didn't do it. So it's like, who lying?
Right.
All right.
Somebody.
It says when people, now we can't be selfish because we always talk about us venting, but we got to talk about when people are venting to us too. And so it says, when allowing people to vent, there are three things needed. And this comes from The Psychology of Venting by Charity Cruz. So the first one says active listening. When people may not always need a verbal response, but I've said this before on the podcast in a few episodes, don't just say, wow, that's crazy. Okay. Like actually, you know, give feedback if needed. You know, I see where you're coming from. I understand. I saw this girl tweet the other day. She said, if I say I understand, I either understand what you're saying or understand we just don't agree. And I thought
Yeah.
that was perfect because I understand, you know. And just think about it says, think about a time when you know that you needed to feel heard.
Mm-hmm.
The second one is empathy. It said it's important to note here that there's a difference between empathy and sympathy. Empathy is a large concept to unpack because essentially at its core, empathy simply means putting yourself in someone else's shoes. I think I I I try to do that. I'm not the best with it though.
Yeah.
As a therapist,
I think at times.
how is that for you? Are you kind of like,
In my personal life, I think I struggle with it a little bit. But at work, you kind of train to do it, and it's also like a different type of environment. So you ain't coming with the same energy you will with people you know personally. So
yeah,
I would say I struggle with the empathy when people vent a little bit, but I'm starting to learn that when somebody venting, a lot of times they ain't looking for no advice. You know what I'm saying? They looking just to be heard. And that's what I do professionally. I just let them, you know what I'm saying, let them talk, let them be heard, you know what I'm saying? Because that's more therapeutic than somebody telling you something you already know. You know what I mean? Like, it's not too much advice you can give somebody that they never heard before. So you got to just be the one to be actively listening and just kind of giving a little verbal feedback here and there. You know, that's more therapeutic than anything in my book.
okay. And then the last one, it says a safe environment, and it's a safe environment is a place where people can feel free to share their feelings openly without judgment or with confidentiality. So again, that kind of make me think of when people say like this is a safe space, you know, to let them know like you good, you know, you ain't got to worry about nothing. Let's go back here, or you know, that kind of thing. So I think that's pretty good. So now moving on to my tips and scenarios for my college students. So what is your tips and scenarios for my college students or the college students that's listening? You went to HBCU, I went to HBCU. And what do you think are some good tips for them when they feeling like I need to vent? You know, obviously they can go to a counselor or therapist on campus. I said it, I'm always gonna say it. It is a lot. It really has for a lot of schools, but especially now, most schools it is free. So go check into that. But what's any other tips you may have for somebody who's, you know,
Somebody just going through a tough time.
need to vent?
I think one of them, like for me, is always one of the biggest tips is to try to track the source of your frustrations. Like, people get anxiety, they get depressed, and they get so caught up in their feelings and they don't really know where these feelings come from. So when you start to backtrack and really go through your life and really figure out where it is that you started to develop this way of thinking, it starts to help you in terms of being able to challenge those thoughts. Like if you in class and you nervous about raising your hand, ask yourself, well, where did this type of thinking start? Was it somebody that laughed at you or ridiculed you when you raised your hand and said something stupid? Like, was that what started it? Okay, what about that situation that really made you upset? Was it that you felt weak? Was it that you felt stupid? Was it that you felt like you wasn't good enough? What was it?
Right.
So really backtrack to the very start, the very origin of these thoughts, you are in better position to challenge these thoughts. And then once you challenge them, you realize how unrealistic they are. And once you realize how unrealistic they are, you become unstuck. You are able to move forward now. So that's for me, like one tip, just really recognize the origins of them. And another one is kind of along the lines of what we've been talking about, find a safe space. Safe space may not necessarily mean a person that you know. Safe space might mean a journal. A safe space might mean if you rap or something, go to the booth. You know what I'm saying? A safe space might mean play your guitar or go to the boxing gym, go hoop. find a safe space to where you in that place and you don't feel no discomfort whatsoever. Everybody has them. They just take a little bit of time to figure out what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I
So those
definitely,
main tips.
yeah. And I definitely believe college is their time to figure it out. You know, if you
Mhm.
don't know it, you'll figure it out at some point. But that's the time you learn about it. And like you said, journaling is a good one. Now, with that, and that's what goes to this video I was watching. I was because I'm a teacher, and so we was at this training, and this girl was writing in this journal that all these feelings that she had about her sister, and they were all negative. And as she was writing them down, the feelings turned into this big monster. And so, what my stance on take on that was, I do believe expressing yourself is healthy, but then it's like, what if all you writing is negative stuff? That was a visual of it turning into a monster. But we know words have power, and so does writing division and whatever you writing down. So it's like, but then again, she was saying stuff like, I hate her and all this kind of stuff. So any maybe tips on like how to just make sure, whatever, is there a way to write down and express yourself without writing, like I want to kill this person? Because sometimes people be doing that too.
Yeah, yeah. I think that we have to be real cognizant of telling people what they can and can't write. You know what I'm saying? Can and can't write. I think that when you writing what you writing, that should just be for you. You know what I'm saying? If it's something crazy, like, I want to kill somebody or whatever, keep that to yourself. Write it and then destroy it. Because the power really come from writing it and letting it out. The power ain't from showing it to people. You know what I'm saying? If you showing it to somebody, 9 out of 10 times you're doing that for the wrong reasons. You're doing that for somebody else to make them react or whatever. You got to keep that to yourself and contain it and destroy it once you get done with it. That's my tip when it comes to stuff like that.
Okay. All right. So we ended off with the last segment, and the segment is called Game Time. In
Mm-hmm.
this game time, it's called Vent or No Vent. I'm going to name literally 4 scenarios. You're going to tell me whether or not this person should vent or they should not. All right. You
Oh,
ready?
yep.
All right. The first one, venting to an ex about your current relationship.
Not vent.
Vent to your brother about how y'all mama be tripping.
Vent.
Vent to social media whenever you get upset.
Not vent, definitely.
Vent to someone at work about someone else at work.
Not vent.
Vent to your therapist about something your wife did.
Vent.
And vent to your manager, or not your manager, vent to your the manager at your apartments when you see a mouse in your house.
Depending on what you consider venting, but I would say go ahead and vent.
All right, right. That might be a complaint. I need to give me money off.
Right. Yeah.
All right. So ending off with the question or challenge for this week for my guests, my people. I want y'all to tell me, in what way do you plan on venting moving forward? What is one way you're gonna say, I'm gonna vent like this, I'm gonna try this, maybe you might say, maybe I need to go finally go get me a therapist. Maybe you say, I'm gonna go to the dollar store, give me a dollar journal and start this summer. Teachers like myself, we off now. Well, some of us, because like, look, my school was the only school that got off on normal time this school year. The rest of these schools, got pushed back because of COVID. It's some schools that are out here that normally get out in May. They ain't getting out to like June 15th, 18th. I'm like, some old. It's 4th of July at that point.
Yeah.
You
Right.
might as well. Y'all gonna be celebrating Juneteenth still in school now. Y'all got that. Anything else you got before you go?
Um, yeah, I think that, when we talk about venting, I think when you vent, do it for yourself. Don't vent to stick it to somebody. Don't vent because you just want an excuse to blow up or an excuse to say some disrespectful stuff. Do it because you can't hold it in no more, but do it in a respectful way. You know what I'm saying? So be as respectful as possible. So if you're gonna vent, if you can't vent to nobody respectfully, vent to yourself. If you can vent to somebody respectfully, you got the ability to do that, then find somebody that's a safe space. You know what I'm saying? Somebody that you can trust, somebody that it ain't gonna get out to the world. And that's my tip for the day, and I also want people to also, if you don't got nobody to talk to, go and find a therapist. It ain't nothing wrong with that. It's going to take a couple therapists to find the right therapist, but it's worth a try. It's definitely better than doing nothing. So those are my things for the day.
Right. All right. Good. 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 And again, y'all, your downfall will be you fighting people, screaming at people, upset. It leads to all these issues when you don't vent. So you need to find a safe way to do it, because if not, you the one that's gonna suffer. We named several of them, so don't let your name be on that list. All right, so I'm gonna appreciate my guests for coming through. Thank y'all. This has been the 3-part mental health segment. Obviously mental health, but mental health awareness month. So it's been pretty good. I loved it. Gotten good, great feedback, great streams. The audio's been going crazy, so that's good. And obviously the visuals have been okay on YouTube, but hey, I'm just starting with visuals for real, so it is what it is. P.S.A. signing out. Always remember, keep your head up like your neck hurt. Remember who you are and make your mind up. Don't let it make you.
All right, much love.